Follow the bridle path to the Cypress Inn. What's it all about? We'll tell you coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Myrtle Beach Herald. We're focused on an upcoming one-act tea at the Cypress Inn, and we're visiting with its playwright, Kathryn Martin. Good morning, Kathryn.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me.
This is so exciting. I want to get back to the word playwright in just a second, but I want to talk a little bit about yourself. Are you originally from the area?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I was a Navy brat, so I wasn't really from anywhere, but I spent the most time actually in Colorado, Denver, Colorado.
Uh-huh.
And second most in Los Angeles.
I think I saw you.
Not by design.
That's right. You were in Southern Cal for a good while.
Right.
You say not by design.
Right. My husband worked for an aerospace company, and we got transferred a lot, and that was one of the places where we stayed the longest.
But that's right. You all were in L.A. or in Southern Cal for
Yes.
a good while. Was it L.A. itself?
We actually lived in some of the bedroom communities around the southern end of Los Angeles, so we never actually lived in the city of Los Angeles, but we lived in L.A. County, which is huge.
Is a huge county. That's
Yes,
right.
it is.
That's right.
Yes,
My older brother and his wife live in Santa Monica, and we've been going out there for more than a decade now. They love it out there.
Yeah.
Some folks don't, but they do.
Yeah.
And what brought you all to the East Coast?
Well, both my husband and I had relatives on the East Coast, and when we decided to pull the plug and get out of L.A., we wanted to be closer to family, but we didn't really have a specific location in mind. And so essentially we started in New Jersey and drove south, and we said we'd just keep driving until we found someplace we liked.
Wow.
And here we are.
You obviously had to get off of 95 for a little bit to end up in, and you all live in Surfside Beach, I believe.
Yes, we did not take 95. We took the coastal route. So actually, when we left Los Angeles, we decided that we'd had enough. My husband took early retirement. I quit my job with the newspaper. We sold our condo, and we put our furniture in storage, and we packed up our vehicle and our 2 cats, and we spent 8 months traveling.
Oh, come on.
No, it's true. We were homeless and unemployed for 8 months. And It was great.
What kind of vehicle were you all in traveling?
A Lexus Sport Utility.
Is that right?
Yeah, with our 2 cats and all of our luggage. And it actually turned out we had more stuff than we needed to have brought. So
that's hilarious.
We drove from Los Angeles to Alaska, through British Columbia, the Yukon, down through the Canadian Rockies, the American Rockies, cross countries. We visited all the places that we could never go when we were working, because they were too hard to get to on a 2-week vacation.
If you didn't know your husband well, you sure do now. Yeah.
Well, yes, yeah.
That had to be a good match made in heaven.
Well,
there.
It must be. It's coming up on 23 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's exciting.
Thank you.
That's a big deal. And your husband has slowed down a little bit here as well. Now, you've been going stronger than ever, it sounds like.
It does feel that way.
Yeah.
It does feel that way. And he is actually, too. He's on the Surfside Beach Town Council. And
great.
He also does substitute teaching in Horry County schools. Mostly high school.
I was about to say, you said he was with aerospace engineering. Is that, has he found a different niche there, or how many high schools are teaching that?
I guess he's still trying to decide what he wants to be when he grows up.
That's great.
As are we all, I guess.
That's great. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. And the real excitement there, that word playwright, where does that come from? I mean, how does, for viewers, how to spell that? That's a real simple word, but then how did it come about?
But it's not spelled the way it sounds.
I know, sure.
It's the word right, W-R-I-G-H-T, means an artisan, and it's somebody who performs a skilled trade. And so I guess somebody decided along the way that writing a play was some kind of a skill.
Yes, very definitely, particularly ones that are acted out, not just written and put on a shelf.
Right.
But you've actually done something with this.
Oh yeah. And as you say, writing a play is not like putting something in a book and putting it on a shelf.
Right.
The act of playwriting is very much a spoken art. It's a living art, and it's a collaborative art. You don't if you write a novel, you put it down on paper in a word processor, whatever. It goes in a book, and people go to a bookstore and they pick it up, and maybe they read it, and maybe they don't. But whatever, it's there. It's exactly the same experience every time somebody picks up that book.
That's right.
Whereas a play, we jokingly said, with Tricks of Memory, we performed a different play every night.
That's right.
Because it's never the same twice. It depends on your audience. It depends on who remembers all their lines.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And who doesn't. And your play, as a playwright, you think, well, I've written this play and I'm going to give it to some actors and they're going to just put it on. Well, that's not really necessarily so.
Yeah.
A play, especially for a young, new playwright like myself, evolves as it's being rehearsed and as it's getting its stage legs, so to speak. And once it gets up on the stage, it's a very different animal than it was when you were sitting there at your word processor writing it.
I was about to ask, that must be fascinating. As the actors are really getting to know what you put pen to paper.
Yeah.
As they get to know it, are there times where you're like, no, this is not at all what or it really it changes dramatically?
It does, sometimes in little ways, sometimes in big ways. Sometimes the way you visualized that stage looking when your play was being performed really doesn't work. And some of the lines that you thought were really great just absolutely fall flat. And that's happened to me any number of times when I've had a play being performed. And even as you're sitting in rehearsal, somebody is having trouble with a particular line because it just doesn't feel natural to them, or their tongue trips over a sequence of words, and you go back and you say, no, that doesn't work. Let's change it to this, or let's take that line out altogether. I've had plays where I thought I had really funny lines, and they absolutely fell flat, and I said, okay, it comes out.
Good for you. How humbling, but at the same time, how strong on your part. I mean, knowing that something was so right, but then so wrong, but then you obviously made something right again. I mean, you turned it around to turn it so that it would flow well.
Well, you know the old saying about the customer is always right. Well, the audience is always right. And if the audience doesn't think it's funny, it ain't.
But there have been times where an actor's just not doing it the way, I mean, it can be good if they get into the groove. I mean, if they get into it, and in the end, they end up getting it right. I mean, they end up feeling this isn't right, but then the more they do it, they get it right.
Well, and you give a lot of faith to your director. Your director chooses the cast, and you hope that they have the vision that you had of your play. They choose the cast members that they think are going to be right for those parts, and you kind of have to take a leap of faith and trust in your director to get it right. Yeah,
I understand you've been chosen by these directors for a couple of these pieces. I think recently, the one at the Grand Strand Senior Center that you all performed, am I correct, Tricks of Memory?
That's correct.
You performed in that as well.
Well, rather a strange circumstance how that came about. I really didn't intend to be in the play at all, and in fact, I had originally written the play to be about a mother, a son and a daughter, grown son and daughter.
Instead of two girls.
And we had the play cast, and the man that was playing the part of the son had to take a job transfer out of state. And it was so close to performance date that we couldn't get it recast.
Oh, no.
So our choices were either to pull the play or to recast it as a daughter. So essentially I went back, rewrote the play as two daughters instead of a son and a daughter, and I stepped in to play the second daughter because I was the only one who could pretty much get up to speed at that point on the play. I mean, they sort of thought that I was a little familiar with the play.
It turned out very well, though, yes.
Actually, I had a director from another theater company come up and say he'd really like me to audition for something at their theater. And I said, no, that was it.
Oh, yeah, that was the one and only. Yeah.
The one and only, yeah, the first, the last.
How exciting, Kathryn. That must be exhilarating to know, A, that you're not only putting it pen to paper, but then actually acting it out, and knowing you had to change that script. And as I was reading a little bit of the synopsis there this morning of that piece, seeing the two daughters, and actually share with the viewers a little bit about Tricks of Memory. Oh, real quick, I'm sorry, not to jump. I want to make sure we get the phone number for folks who've got to run out right now this morning. It's this Sunday, 1 and 3:30 at the Cypress Inn in Conway on Elm Street, I believe, 16.
Correct.
Elm Street. Then, of course, they've got the following Sunday, the 23rd, and even now the 30th.
Correct.
It is sold so well. The phone number there, 843-248-8199.
Okay.
And either Jim or Carol Ruddock, I believe, would answer that.
Right.
Very exciting to know this is really upon us this Sunday.
Right, and this is really an unusual kind of theater performance. Most people who go to live theater are used to going into a theater, the stage is up there, the audience is down here, you're maybe 50 feet, 100 feet, depending on where you are sitting in the theater, and the actors are up there and you're down here and never the twain shall meet. In the one-act tea, which we're doing at Cypress Inn, they will be serving an afternoon English tea, which they've been doing for about 4 years.
Right.
And right in the middle of their English tea, in the middle of the room where they're sitting, the play is going to be taking place practically in their laps. And it's a real different experience for those who haven't experienced this kind of intimate theater.
Yes.
I first ran across this when I was a theater reviewer in Los Angeles. I reviewed plays for a number of theater companies around the area, and I saw the first time I ran into this, I was at a tiny little theater that had been built in a renovated jewelry store. Teeny little space. There were only 3 rows of seats, and the bottom row of seats in the audience was right on the floor where the stage was.
Right.
And they were performing a Sam Shepard play called A Fool for Love, which is very, very physical. And I was sitting in the front row. Unbeknownst to me, there was a big fight scene right in the middle of the play, and I was thinking, you know, I'm going to come out of this show with a black eye because these guys were right there in my face with this fight scene.
Kathryn.
I mean, it's really exciting, and I think that this is going to be similar to that. Not to give away too much about the plot, but there is some interesting stuff going on in the middle of this play, and those people, especially the ones that have front row seats, are going to feel very much involved in the action.
Wow, Kathryn, the bridal path.
Right.
The bridal path.
Right.
Yes, we don't want to give too much away, but you can at least talk a little bit about what folks are seeing just on reading a little teaser to get them interested in coming out.
Right. Well, it is a comedy, and there are going to be some surprises, which we, of course, won't give away.
Right.
The plot is about a couple in their 30s who are planning their wedding. They've both been married before, and they have all the baggage that comes with second marriage. There's a famous quotation by a philosopher, 18th or 17th century philosopher named Samuel Johnson, that says, "Second marriage is the triumph of hope over experience." And they are bringing bringing all this experience to the wedding planning. The wife wants to have a big wedding. The husband wants to have something very simple and then get on an airplane and go someplace fun.
Right. Yeah.
So they're trying to resolve how they're going to go about planning this wedding.
Oh, yeah.
And in the midst of their discussion, they have a conversation with essentially a wedding planner, and the setting is a place just like the Cypress Inn.
Right.
This is a facility that rents out for various functions.
Fancy
and
hotel,
so yeah, exactly. And they're looking at various places and trying to decide, you know, where would they like to do this. And the wedding planner, whose name is Nick, starts offering them the various packages available. Yeah. And he says, well, it's kind of like buying a car. You know, you got your basic model, and then you got your options.
Right.
And so beyond that, I won't say.
How exciting, Kathryn.
But,
again, now, and how many folks in the setup in I know they've really moved out a lot, or will be moving some furniture around for this Sunday and next Sunday and the following Sunday, but how many folks will be in there?
That room only seats 24.
Oh, yeah.
24. So it will be very intimate indeed.
It will.
And the action will really be right in their laps.
And we're talking really about 3, maybe 4 folks. The
cast of 3.
Right, cast of 3.
Right. And there really is no scenery.
Right.
There are virtually no props. The scene is the Cypress Inn.
Wow.
So it's going to be an interesting
exciting.
experience.
Good for you, Kathryn.
Yeah,
this must be
thank you.
thrilling. Now, of course, I want to get back to the Tricks of Memory that was at the Grand Strand Senior Center.
Sure.
But really, what first prompted you to get into playwriting? Was it having reviewed so many in Southern Cal?
Exactly. I was a frustrated novel writer, and I was working for a newspaper, full-time daily newspaper, and reviewing theater. And at one point, I happened to review a production that was put together by a writer's workshop, a playwright's workshop in Southern California, and I went to it with the expectation that it was going to be very amateurish, and you know, I mean, these are beginning playwrights. How good can it be? And I was astonished at how good the writing was and the staging, and how professional. And they were using professional actors, professional directors.
Wow.
And they had a venue in downtown Hollywood, actually, called the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. Has a little cabaret theater called the Cinegrill, and that's where this production was done. And I thought, you know, if these people can do this, I bet I can too. So I joined this playwrights workshop, and my very first play, which was called Juggling, got performed twice, as a matter of fact, at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, which is a historic hotel, and it's right on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Right.
And it was a really exciting experience. It was terrifying, I'll tell you. Actually,
oh yeah, sure.
It was terrifying. And one of the ways that a playwright can make their work effective and really grab an audience is if it's very personal. And if you do it well, it's a very frightening experience when your play first goes up there. I mean, you feel rather exposed because, yeah, you're all up there. And I had written this play about a mother and a daughter who weren't getting along so well, and it was called Juggling. And in fact, the actors actually juggled in the play, and it was really tough to get it cast, I'll tell you. But but it was very exciting seeing it up there on the stage. And once that happened, I guess I was hooked.
Yes, and this was in the early 90s, so we're talking about a decade.
Right.
About a decade. You'd had aspirations of doing this for quite a long time, or no? Was it just that aspect of...
Yeah, I just basically took a flyer on it and tried it out, and it fit well.
Now, you said at the Cinegrill you'd have amateur playwrights, but then you'd have professional actors.
Right.
Doing the so casting it, you were able to tap from some pretty amazing folks there.
Yes, exactly, and that's exactly. I think that's the secret to developing a new play is you must have people that are professionals that know what they're doing. I had a mentor in the playwrights workshop in Los Angeles who would say there's no play is completely actor proof or director proof. So you need to get the best talent you can get, first as your director and second in terms of your cast, and they can make or break your play.
For something as small or as few actor or actresses, like let's say the Bridal Path this weekend and for the next couple of Sundays there at the Cypress Inn, how many folks are there's the playwright yourself, there's the director, and then those three, or there's still other folks like in a normal play? In
this case, that's it.
It's just the five of y'all.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. But in a stage production, you may have dozens of people working behind the scenes that you never see. There are people that are building the set, that are people that are building the props, that are doing the lighting, the sound, that are just taking tickets at the door, putting out programs. There are any number of people that have to be involved, and it's amazing how many people there. For every person that's out there on the stage, there may be 3 or more people backstage that you never see.
24 people per performance. We're talking about the next 3 Sundays. This Sunday, the 23rd, the 30th, at 1 and 3:30. And again, that phone number 248-8199. It's $20 also.
Correct.
Seating is very limited, but
right. That includes both the tea and the theater.
Great.
Yeah.
How exciting. We got about 5 minutes. Let's go back to what was performed. I think it was in early December. And you can tell a little bit about that since it's already been performed, The Tricks of Memory. Share with the viewers exactly how you came about creating that plot line and running with it.
Okay. Well, just to tell people what the plot line was.
Yeah, please.
It was about a mother who's in her 70s, who's an alcoholic, has been a lifelong alcoholic, has 2 grown daughters. And in fact, I permanently rewritten the play as 2 daughters because I thought it went so well with 2 daughters instead of a son and a daughter. The mother has been on a binge and wakes up in a nursing home with her memory completely gone. The 2 daughters come to visit her, and each in their own way decide that they will help her, help in quotes, reconstruct her memory, but in a rather different way than really happened. And that's where the title Tricks of Memory comes from. They're both playing tricks with her memory for various motives. And as I've said before, for a play to be effective, it really needs to be honest, and it needs to be something that the playwright has personal experience with. And this was a situation in my family. My mother was an alcoholic, and she had an episode like this, and I went to see her in a nursing home, and she had no memory of me or her past or anybody else, and it's a very terrifying experience. And I found that people in the audience related to the play on lots and lots of different levels. There was the alcoholism in the first place, because practically everyone you know has somebody within their either close or extended family who's dealt with alcoholism. There was the issue of aging. There were people in the nursing home. One of the characters in the play is the nursing home supervisor, and she says a lot of the people are here in this nursing home because no one else will put up with them. There was that issue. Then there was the issue of the parent versus the adult child. The 2 siblings who had this rivalry going on since they were children and had never gotten past it. And we're still fighting over the relationship between the two of them and their relationships with their mother. And they were still jockeying for their mother's approval and attention. So I heard from people in the audience who related to it on just all kinds of levels. And it was very moving for a lot of people. And it
I'm
was,
sure. Sure, there's a memory loss component as well.
Oh,
I mean, that knowing it at the Grand Strand Senior Center, not that that's occurring all the time, but there's surely some issues, old or young.
That's right, yeah. And I'm sure that there were a lot of people in the audience that knew people who either had Alzheimer's or had some kind of dementia for whatever reason. So, yeah, it touched a lot of nerves.
Is that something that you all are planning on recreating in the near future, tricks of memory? I mean, because that, and you didn't go into that little aspect that I think was laid out that came out, the two sisters. And one other thing I think you pointed out is you must have a brother then, I guess.
I do have a brother.
You do, that's right.
Yeah.
And not a sister.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, I do have an older brother.
But now you have an older sister. That's
yeah, right. Yeah. And actually, the actress who played the other sister, who was actually, we flipped it around and made me the older sister and her the younger sister. Mary Beth Howard, right, who's a wonderful actress. And by the time we got finished with this production, we felt like we were sisters.
Wow.
You know, we had some real screaming matches during the course of the play. And in order to make them realistic, boy, we were right in each other's faces. And it was, I mean, it was actually fun doing it because, you know, it wasn't serious. We weren't really screaming at each other, but they got to be very intense.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, even while we were rehearsing, people would come into the theater and just be caught up in it because it got very, very intense.
Kathryn, yeah, that aspect of the younger sister being an aspiring actress and wanting to remember her mother.
The other way around. It was the older sister.
The older sister.
Yeah,
oh, I thought the older was the in charge.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That we always assumed that the firstborn, the oldest child, is going to be the responsible one. In this case, it was the other way around. It was the younger sister who was the responsible one, and the older sister who was the irresponsible one, which is exactly the way it was in my family, even though it was an older brother.
Right. He was the irresponsible one. Oh,
right.
No, Kathryn, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the middle child, so I'm not going to claim which is
You're the invisible one, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Older or younger. How exciting. And, of course, have you been into the tea room a good bit now? You've gotten a good feel of that, and you all have been practicing over there? No?
They haven't started rehearsing yet there. I think they've done a walkthrough with the actors to get a feel for the space and all that. But they'll be working on that more in the next week or so.
Sure, next couple of days. Yeah, it's this Sunday. Right. I know they're really in a bind. I mean, you know, getting in there. And, of course, Jim and Carol have been doing such gangbuster business.
Yeah.
They've really been doing some exciting things over there.
Yeah, and they've developed quite a following for their teas, which has been great. It's helped me also, but this is a new concept for them too, and I understand that the response from the people that are kind of their regular tea goers has been very, very enthusiastic. People are really kind of jazzed up about this.
Now, will you be at all the performances, all six of the performances? You're there in the standing aside and as you all have been prepping, you're not sitting in the crowd, you're just...
I'll probably be standing in the back with a clipboard writing notes. I think maybe I'll change that line a little bit.
That's right. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
How exciting. And the director, how'd you all go about, or how do you go about handpicking, the director? And do you end up doing that, or?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
You pick the director, and then the director goes about casting.
Right. Well, I've had several plays produced in the area over the last couple of years, and I've gotten to know a lot of the people in the theater community, in the various community theaters, actors, directors, and so forth. And I met Donna Catton-Johnson, who is my director, a couple of years ago when I had a production that was being done at Brook Green Gardens. She was acting in one of the plays, and I've since come across her in other productions where she was either acting or directing, and been impressed with her work. And when I first talked to her about directing The Bridal Path, she was just so enthusiastic that I said, she's got to be the one.
How exciting.
Yeah.
Kathryn, you picked the right one. That's wonderful.
And she chose the cast. In the role of the wedding planner, who's Nick. She chose her husband, David Catton-Johnson, who has a wonderful talent for comedy. The young couple, the bride and bridegroom-to-be, are played by Chris Carr. He's the bridegroom, and Terry Moody, who, if anybody recently saw the production of Best Little Whorehouse in Texas at the Theater of the Republic. She had a wonderful sort of small role as a waitress, and she was very, very good, very funny. And Chris has been in a number of shows. He was just recently in their production of Jekyll and Hyde.
That's wonderful.
So we've got a very strong cast, and I think it's going to be a great production.
The Bridal Path. Thanks so much for being with us this morning, Kathryn.
Thank you.
Definitely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Kathryn Martin coming up next. A one-act tea, what's it all about? You can find out this Sunday, The Bridal Path, this Sunday at the Cypress Inn down on the water on Elm Street in Conway. Give them a call at 843-248-8199. Either Jim or Carol Ruddock will be there. It's not only this Sunday, but next Sunday and Sunday the 30th at 1 and 3:30. The cost is $20. There's just a couple of seats left. But please give them a call. It'll be an amazing experience, The Bridal Path, 843-248-8199.